So today we will hear insights out of 6 projects, all along tackling the issue of the Smart Readiness Indicator. Very short regarding my person. I'm heading the Department for Energy, Mobility and Climate at Steinbeis Europazentrum. We have 35 years of experience in leading the innovative part of projects, meaning the innovation management, meaning dissemination communication, exploitation, social innovation, and also in some cases, if wanted, we take over the administrative and financial coordination of a project. And me as a person, I've been working now for 20 years on European projects, and I started with a positive energy district project at Steinbeis. And why do you see 2 of the projects underneath my picture? You see Smart History and Rehouse. This is because we're partners in these projects as well. I'm not going to talk about them. This is going to be Matteo. So right now I'm going to present all of our speakers. I'll start with Matteo, who's right next to me, Matteo Porta. He's a senior project engineer at RINA Consulting, and he will present the project Smart History, which is coordinated by Rina, by Matteo, and he will also present the results and the expertises from the project Rehouse, which is coordinated by Khatif. The project focus of Smart History is on digital transformation of historic non-residential buildings. The focus in the project Rehouse is on deep renovation strategies for energy-efficient buildings. So you already hear a slight difference on perspectives. Then we have Janis Papias from NTUA. He is a researcher and energy specialist. And Janis will present the experiences from the project Built On, which is coordinated by Khatif, and has a focus on affordable digital solutions for smart building transformation. Konstantinos is a project manager and researcher as QUE, I don't know how to pronounce Q Technologies. He will present the insights of the project Chronicle, which is coordinated by Sirce. And the project is about the standardization and the procedural support for SRA, the Smart Readiness Indicator implementation. And then we have Keo Vatana from the Université de Côte d'Azur. She's a postdoctoral researcher at that university. She will present the insights of the project Inbuilt that focuses on transforming the European construction industry by promoting circular economy principles, digitalization, and the use of local and reusable materials to minimize waste and enhance sector resilience. So again, another aspect regarding the built environment. And this project is coordinated by the Université de Côte d'Azur. And last but not least, they have Lukas, who is a project manager at ASM. He will present the results of the project Multicare, which is led by the TU Delft. This project is focusing on multi-hazard resilience and low-carbon technologies. Okay. Then, how are we going to organize our session today? We will not have a presentation project by project, but rather tackle these 3 focus questions, and within these focus questions, get the insights and experiences out of these 6 projects. So the first focus is how our digital tools and methodologies making the SRI measurable and actionable in real-world settings. We will have a deeper look on if this is going to tell us more about SRI in the operative, meaning the tools and the methodologies. The second focus is on what does SRA implementation look like on the ground, and what are we learning from it? Here we have a deep dive in the demonstrations in practice. And the third focus is on how does the SRI framework support broader goals like resilience and occupant comfort. So you see, we have historical non-residential buildings, we have the resilient part, and also the financial part in all of these 6 projects. But before going now into the project itself, we have a short section moment using Mentimeter. So we need to go quickly out of the presentation. And, sorry, I think I messed something up because you need first to, okay, you have the QR code. So I kindly invite you to participate in the Mentimeter by logging in through the QR code. I will just quickly try it. Okay. Please give me a sign if you struggle with.
You're too far.
You're too far. All set? No, I'm waiting. I see that you're still working on it. Okay, we have first answers already. So the first question of the 2 questions that we have is, have you ever applied the Smart Readiness Indicator in a project? Interesting. Some of them, okay, I wait a little bit. Okay, most of them, yes, in a pilot or research project. Next one, not, but familiar with the SRI. And yes, in a real building project, and no, I'm new to the SRI. Okay, so welcome, this is very good. So you can learn from the pilots, and also, which is very interesting in my point of view, in a real building project, if it's not a pilot, yeah. So this is going to be very interesting later on for the discussions, to get your insights as well, in case it's not concerning yours. Because this is interesting to know, are there any differences between the ones that are already applied and the ones that are still being tested in the pilots? And the ones not yet familiar, welcome to the session, so you will get some insights and get more about it.
Good luck.
Sorry, good luck?
Good luck.
Thank you. And the second question. Which of the SRI focus topics that we are tackling today interests you the most? So I recap. Focus number 1, how are digital tools and methodologies making the SRI measurable and actionable in real-world settings? Focus number 2, demonstration in practice. And focus number 3, beyond energy comfort, flexibility and user experience. Okay. So it is demo, then it is resilience, energy, and then tools and methodologies. Cool. Okay, so then we will, I talked beforehand with my speakers whether they were resilient to improvisation. So now we know that after or during the panel discussion, together with you, we can try to focus then on focus number 2, regarding the demonstration sites, in case we have not yet tackled all the questions that are in your heads, and then try to focus on the broader goals like resilience and occupant comfort, and then focus number 1. Cool. Okay, so then I would say we start with focus number 1. And we start with Matteo, who will give an insight on the learnings of Smart E-Story. Would you like to have it?
Yes.
The floor is yours, Matteo.
Okay. Can you remember how much time we have for
Yes, you have 5 minutes. So now I check which is fine. We're completely in time. Do you want me to give a sign in after 4 minutes?
No, I'm putting the
Okay,
It's okay.
and I'm the vice chairman.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I'm quite happy to be here with you to discuss about this topic. So I'm the coordinator. I'm from Lina Consulting, and I'm the coordinator of the Smart History project. The Smart History project deals with the implementation of digital solution in an historical buildings, and we have three demonstrators, but then I will show after the demonstrators. And here, the starting point was to evaluate the SRI level of each of the three historical buildings that we are focusing on, and starting from this baseline level of SRI, we identified how to say possible renovation and intervention from a digital perspective, because since they are historical buildings, of course they have some limitation in installations and intervention specifically related to the envelope and due to their historical value that they have. But aside from this, we have developed together with Tecnalia, that was the main developer here, and Noelia was preparing this slide from Tecnalia to keep credit to her. This SRI tool that is based, of course, from the Excel file that comes from European Commission for the SRI evaluation, and we have developed this tool that could be more user-friendly because we have a user interface, and the user can have access to it and insert some information, the information that are usually needed for the SRI calculation. So there are many tools that have been developed recently by many projects or many companies. This is one of them. Of course, it was an objective of the Smart History project. The good thing that we are including, apart from okay, no, this is okay. We have, of course, a front end and the back end. The back end is for developers, and the front end, of course, it is for final users. And we have a workflow that can give the possibility to the end user to easily interact with the different functionalities and the different domains that are included in the SRI. I don't know how familiar you are with the SRI and how it is conceived, and all the section that it's not so straightforward at some point. So this is the reason why in many projects we are developing such type of tools. We have an addition to the standard functionalities of these Excel files that is represented by some economic evaluation that are condensed here with some graph. Maybe I can. So in this case, we have, for example, you can see here the cooling. This is SRS means service, the cooling service that is foreseen for the calculation of the SRI is one of the domain that is included. The other are heating, domestic water, and in total are 9. And for this service, a list of possible level of advancement are allowed. As you can see here, you have a different level of advancement in order for your building to be smarter than before. And we did this analysis crossing the impact score, that is the result from the SLI, with the cost of the intervention to see how to increase 1 point or a point of impact score will impact on the cost of the intervention. In order to say, okay, if I increase of 2 points, for example, the impact score for the cooling service moving from this advancement to this advancement, this is the increase of cost. It's not too much, but if I increase, for example, another point, this could cost me a lot. So this is one, and I stop myself because the time is close. Okay. So this is one of 30 seconds. This is one of the advancements that we included in this application developed by Smart History that is not foreseen. No? So the costs of the intervention in this moment, as it is conceived, the SRI tool, is something that has been neglected, and we needed to further implement this type of tool in order to give to the end users also an idea of the cost. That's it.
Thank you, Mattia. Okay, then we have Giannis. Giannis will show how the SRI calculator and Smurf assessment tool enables the operational implementation of the SRI in build-on.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Today I will show you how the build-on project has moved beyond the static SRI assessments of the buildings and provided a practical and market-ready framework to improve buildings in real-world conditions. In more detail, we have designed the SMERF decision support tool. The main idea is that we take the static SRI assessments from the calculator tool we have also developed and turn them into actionable decision support. And basically, our tool allows users to define specific SRI targets for their building that they want to achieve, and then explore tailored upgrade scenarios linked with real market products in order to achieve these defined SRI targets. And then the tool also evaluates these results in terms of financial costs, estimated carbon emissions, and overall efficiency. And this way, the results are not only measurable, but also actionable. In this slide, we can see an overview of the methodology we follow. We have two core modules. First, we begin with the SRI assessment from the SRI calculator tool, where we collect baseline data for the building, the services, the functionality levels, and so on. And also the initial, we establish the initial SRI score of the building. Then we move to the decision support module from the SMERF assessment tool, where a user can set a target that they want to achieve, and the tool generates the upgrade scenarios. And the generated scenarios are ranked by total cost, SRI gain, and cost effectiveness in order to be more easy to understand by the users. In practice, this means that once we set a target SRI, the tool evaluates a catalog of intervention technologies, which is basically the market equipment, then maps these intervention technologies to service upgrades from starting level He to X to final level Z, checks for feasibility, and generates the upgrade scenarios. And this way, we bridge the gap between the policy assessment and the building renovation plan. Now we can proceed with a very short video that demonstrates our tool. Maybe we can click it. So that was a brief overview of our tool. And to conclude, we have developed a fully functional tool that is integrated with the SRI calculator. The tool generates smart upgrade scenarios to reach a user-defined SRI target. And the scenarios provided are also linked with real market products, the associated financial costs, and the estimated carbon emissions. Now, in the scope of this project, we tested in 5 pilot buildings on both residential and commercial contexts. And in overall, we are not just measuring unit and SRI index, but we have a market-ready tool to help real-world building renovation strategies. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Sorry, can I just ask one
Yes.
question? Mia Lajusar from VTT Finland. That who is this tool meant for? Which kind of stakeholders or users?
It can be used for the people that are responsible for the renovations of the buildings, but we will try somehow to make it available to everyone, not only SRI assessors or experts. Maybe through a gamification plan, but this is something for the future.
Okay, thank you.
You may follow Mia. Just interrupt us in the middle of the workshop if you have questions or any comment. Feel free at any time. Okay, then you may hand over now to Konstantinos. Konstantinos will show us how the BIM and into SRE transformation engines can streamline SRI and energy assessment from a unified model, and this out of the view of the project Chronicle. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Konstantinos Mamis from Q Technologies. When Chronicle was conceived 4 years ago, there was and still is a fragmentation on building data. A building would undergo several modeling stages. It would be modeled when designed. It would be modeled for simulation purposes and another modeling for SRI purposes. Furthermore, there is a lack of common inspection and data collection protocols for SRI and the PC. There is a high level of subjectivity in the selection and evaluation of the services. Moreover, many times the human-centric performance aspects are usually not be taken account, and there are hidden interdependencies between the various performance factors included in the SRI impact criteria. This is where the Chronicle CD comes in play. At its core, there is the common data environment that fuses the static and the dynamic data of a building. On your left, you can see a BIM model in an IFC format, which is being inserted into this common data environment. It is being validated through an IFC checker via an IDS system, and from there on, 2 generation engines takes on the BIM2 SRI generator, which extract the geometry and the thermal properties of the building, and the BIM2 SRI generator that takes all the information inside the BIM model that needs to be assessed in order to calculate the SRI. On the right side, the dynamic data of the building are being fused and validated inside the same BIM model, and these 2 modules are giving input to several tools, the data-driven and the physics-based digital twins, the renovation planner, and a digital building logbook, which holds the EPC and the SRI assessment, and several tools that are dedicated for end users. What we have achieved so far is that we have managed to define several P sets that they are infused into the beams, and we have investigated a dynamic weighting readjustment approach for the SRI in order to take into consideration the data that a building has, the dynamic data that the building has. What's on from here on? We are working on a text-to-beam approach in order to standardize how the beam is created. It is not included in this presentation due to time issues. And we also developing an SRI validation tool that is getting pre-filled with information from the beam model, and it allows the assessor to pinpoint the gaps in the beam information there are, to evaluate them, and to complete whatever information is missing. That's it. Thank you all.
Then I would like to hand over to Keo Batana, who is going to give us an insight in this section more deeply on her point of view.
So thank you. It's more like resume, like what I've heard from the three presenters, and what struck me from this presentation is that how much we've progressed in terms of the SRI applications and practical and actionable, and the advanced tools that proposed by Smarty, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, Smarty Story and Smurf. We can really see that they streamline the assessment, and I think the Smurf has already surpassed the currently SRI requirement by also like targeting the evaluating cost and supporting decision making, which is nice. And what really particularly piqued my interest when you mentioned about the the smart readiness, it's also about people, although you present more like in BIMs, but I think at the end of the day, it's also about like people, the user itself, like their well-being, the thermal comfort. Maybe the SRI could integrate these parts into their future goals, the future requirements. I think it's going to be interesting because we're going to discuss this in the next focus in terms of the comfort. Yeah.
Thank you, Keo. We have a question from online, which I'm going to read out loud. It's from Peter. Hi, everyone. Just one point here concerning Smart History. My colleagues and I are very interested by the project and curious about the tool, but we are really struggling to get access to the tool caused by a block by Trend Micro. Is the issue already identified and is it being resolved? Thank you from Belgium.
Okay, I'm sorry, but it's the first time that I hear this problem. I don't know if they can see me. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the camera. They see you.
Okay. And so, if you can email us, we can try to solve your problem. In this moment, I don't know how to solve it
This is perfect.
because it's a software issue.
Yes, and it's pilots. We're testing things. So this is from down from the user level and to the developer. So this is a very good thing. You will get in contact with each other. Are there any? There's
There's another question online also from Peter. I will just go on with that
and then we hand over.
Yeah. So the question is the build-on tool a further development of the tool that was developed in SRI Enact? I see a lot of similarities. Maybe it was said in the presentation and I missed it. If so, I'm sorry for the question.
Yes, it was developed in these two projects by the same team and UA, and we need the insights and the gains from their research to further advance it. The carbon emissions was not included in the version of the other project.
Thank you.
I saw a hand over here. Yes, please.
Do you mind actually going back to one of the first slides the gentleman presented?
I don't mind.
Thank you. And this might not have been the focus of your...
Just tell me which one, please.
It's the really nice graphs.
There were many of them.
With the nice colors.
Excuse me?
Nice grasp. Nice
Maybe
colors.
Smarty story.
That one. And this might not have been the focus, but I find this very interesting. I like kind of the analysis. I come from the supplier sector, so a company that supplies a solution that can drive energy efficiency and help improve the SRI score. But what I find interesting is you put the cost at the bottom, which is very useful, but I don't know what 1 point means. What does 1 point actually mean to the building owner? What does 1 point mean? What value does that mean? And I think that's the challenge that I have with the SRI. Yeah,
This one on the
I know. I know it means a point, but what does a point actually mean to a building owner?
Yeah.
And I think that's the conceptual part that is not getting through to me right now with the SRI is how can we start to quantify this? ESG took a long time. ESG-C represents this sort of energy efficiency. And over time, they started to prove that a more energy efficient building, more sustainable building is going to drive a green premium so you can charge your tenants more. What's a higher SRI score going to do? Can we start to use comparables? And I think I'm looking at this more from an outcome perspective, which is how am I going to sell this to the client? How is
Be more tangible, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like
Attractive to.
exactly. So it's almost like the bottom there is like that's how much it's going to cost, but you should also have something about the efficiency that sort of smartness is going to drive. And I think I was curious if you could study that. That's part of any research that you're doing. Because for me, that is the most interesting part.
Yes.
What does a point mean?
I can say that this is one of the best representation that we can give to the end users as a first thing of what means to increase 1 point the smart readiness service.
Mhm.
I understand. We all understand that the impact score is very difficult to interpret, also from an energy efficiency point of view or carbon footprint point of view, as it is conceived and as it is calculated. You can, for sure, we can, how to say, explode this graph into single impact score. I mean, so to try to also match the impact score, not only with cost, but with energy efficiency improvement and carbon footprint. The information from the Excel tool are there. It's quite difficult to extract and to match together in order to optimize the mix of information. I don't know if I
Yes.
answered your question.
Yeah, and obviously I frame this in energy efficiency, but the same thing applies for comfort too, right? I mean, how do we start to measure that and how do we start to quantify that for tangible benefit that a tenant is going to realize that a building owner can then charge their clients? Because ultimately, what's the reason to do it? They want to make more money, right? So
Is this right that you are more asking not for the technologists to give you some numbers, but rather than give a translation to how to reach to the end user, how to make it attractive to the end user?
Yes, I think that's it. Like, I'm a tenant in a building. The SRI score for comfort is X. That's a value proposition. I can bring more people into the office. People are going to appreciate that more. That's going to drive higher end tenants who will pay more for a space that can drive better comfort metrics, right? So I think that's my perspective. I'm trying to sell my solution all the time, and it's always about outcome. What can I do from an outcome perspective? And I'm trying to sell the story of SRI, and I'm just missing a few points there.
Instead of a line, we could even imagine to have a surface on three-dimensional, three axes, where there is cost, for example, efficiency, and carbon footprint. And then you can match the three information to have a surface and to find the minimum or the maximum.
I think you can do lots of different analyses, and it'd be interesting to figure out the different metrics that you're trying to measure, but from an outcome perspective.
I think that did almost.
Sorry,
That's fine. That's
took
fine.
a lot of time.
I think we need the technological numbers and then the translation to reach out to the end user. So we need him and we need you to then tailor these things. Mia and then another, yes.
I have an answer for him. How to translate the comfort into money.
Okay.
Yeah, productivity.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that is money.
Those things need to be studied, right?
Yeah.
But then what is that, like an SRI score point increase of 5 from comfort equals what in terms of productivity? I don't know. I think that's what needs to be studied.
But I think these are then other projects.
Possibly, yeah.
These are then the ones going towards the applications. Yeah, so we have these more research focused ones with the numbers and so on, checking does it make any sense? Does it have an impact, yes or no, in numbers, and then doing the next one. Yeah. There was a hand over here, is this right? Or did I misinterpret it?
I'm just gonna add something really quick on top of that. How you could measure the the productivity. I think it really works in terms of school. For example, if the students, we can promote like, okay, if the SRI is in this score, the number of students like 29 out of 30 people can pass a score. It's already been done. Research has been done, and also in terms of productivity in the office, like in how many people working in the same office. If the SRI for this certain building could improve their productivity, could earn like more money in a month or something. I think it works alongside, but of course needs more case study.
Okay, then I would say we continue. This first focus was on tools and methodologies, and now we're going to have a deep insight in the demonstrations in practice. So we will start. These are now. You could have chosen another one you wanted to see.
They were beautiful slides. I love a good
That's
graph.
fine.
I want that third axis.
Now we are going to have a deeper insight in what does SRI implementation look like on the ground and what are we learning from it. We will. I have another order. So yes, we start with Matteo. Matteo will show us how hands-on experiences in renovation demos can help shape and refine the SRI in Rehouse.
Yes, it's me again, just because I'm here to represent some of the partners of the Rehouse. Rehouse is it's an ongoing project that is led by Directive, and in particular, this application of the SRI methodology has been developed by CERT from Greece, and so I'm here on behalf of them in order to explain a bit. Something that at the end it's quite simple because the SRI in the Rehouse project has been applied as it is. So as it is provided by the European Commission via the Excel file that probably we all know, and has been applied to calculate the baseline condition of the demo sites. So here are some bullet points that are showing out the process that everyone who wants to calculate the SRI should follow. So for sure, before the SRI provides the building's status in terms of smartness before and after the renovation, and it assists the technical assessment and the feasibility of renovation works because once you select the renovation and the digital application using the Excel file, then you understand which level of SRI you could reach, and it validates and quantifies the performance according to some how to say performance evaluation and validation. As we said before, we are talking about the comfort, we are talking about energy efficiency, and we are talking about also profitability of the solutions, and then can improve the usability and interpretation of data from the stakeholders that are focused on this type of solution, digital solution to improve the smartness of the application. This is the 4 demo sites where the SRI has been applied. So we have a student residence in Greece. We have another student residence in Hungary, in Budapest. And we have 2 residential buildings. One is a social housing in Margherita di Savoia in Italy, in Puglia, and one is in France. and it is a residential building. So here has been calculated the SRI level before the renovation works. So in the Rehouse, we are in the phase of installation of the renovation packages in the 4 demo sites. And this is the grid site. And the initial SRI score is quite high, as you can see here, 42.9%. And okay. And yeah, just to say that there is nothing more to say about this, because we have calculated this score, and then we are waiting for the implementation of the solution in order to understand how it will be improved. In this case, the SRI was not the main driver. I mean, it's something that is aside the focus of the project. There is an activity that we are performing in order then to understand how the SRI has been improved after the renovation that is being decided, not only focusing on the SRI objective. That's it.
Taking the SRI as a tool.
Yes, the SRI is a tool like energy performance certificate.
Yes.
So I'm certificating that is my starting point, energy performance.
Mhm.
This is the starting point of the smart readiness. And after my renovation work, this is what I am achieving.
Mhm.
But in the Real's case, this is not the main driver for the renovation.
No, it was another one, but
It
you
was,
you coupled it now.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're making use of the SRI as well.
exactly. Like an instrument, a tool to quantify, to verify the new smartness of the building after the renovation.
To verify what you predicted, but without applying SRI beforehand.
In the design phase, exactly.
Okay. Which is good that it's more or less proving what you planned.
Yeah.
May I jump in for
Yeah, sure.
question?
Go ahead.
For the building and your project, what kind of assumptions you are taking while calculating the SRI score? Is this some already scientific proof, or it's your assumption numbers? Because I'm just wondering if, for example, you put the same data in your application and in your application, does the score will be the same or completely different? So what's the background of how to interpret the data on the existing buildings?
A question of standardization.
Yeah, maybe if there is any, or it's just an imagination of each project, how to calculate this.
From our side, it involved a lot of research, communications with the sellers of the products, and the other projects, their experience on that, and we try to map to service upgrades. It's not a standardized way or a universal way. And we all know that this is not finalized. We need also to add more technologies, test it more.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's, if we can make some experiment to put the same building in your application and in your application, and what will be the final score? The same or totally different?
Well, your question if somehow it's biased, yeah, because depending on the tool.
Using his code.
I think that they should be the same, because both of them are based on the same starting point, that is the Excel file
from the
commission.
Okay, so you use the same background.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Then we made some improvements that are quite similar for what I understood, because we included also the cost effectiveness both in order to have a better results, also including costs, but the basis is the same.
Thanks.
Everything clarified for everybody? Yes. Then I hand over to Kevatan. Yes. Kevatan, show how innovative building materials and envelope can enable buildings to operate in a smart, energy efficient, and resilient way, thus supporting the SRI. Floor is yours.
So we've seen the project that is already working directly with SRI scoring, the before and after renovation, and now I'm sharing another perspective on a project that is indirectly supporting the SRI vision and hoping to deliver it to the max. So I'm presenting right here. I'm representing in-build project. We are focusing on producing 10 innovative products that are bio and geo source based materials, and as well as the recycled materials. And in order for us to develop and validate these products, we have installed them and implemented them in the 3 demonstration sites. As I presented here, there is like 1 new build residential building. It's going to be relevant later on. And a tiny house, which is movable on a trailer. And finally, a retrofit building, which is the community building. I mentioned about the residential building because that's what I personally control and simulate. We have a better controls in terms of like the monitoring. I'll explain why in a second. So each building site, each demo site, we have different monitoring protocol. But for the residential building, I said that we have a full control because we install more sensors. We install the sensor that measure the environmental data like temperature, humidity, CO2, detect the movement of the users. We also measure the electricity load, the energy consumption. So everything is measured. So all of this data that we collected, of course, going to benefit us in terms of the for us to use to evaluate the performance of the product that we developed in the real building scale, but also allows us to monitor and evaluate the energy performance of the whole building in association with our products, as well as the thermal comfort. So upon collecting, as you can see, I show a little bit of graphic over there using just psychometric chart, which is in association with ASHRAEA 55, how we evaluate the thermal comfort of users, if it's in the zone of comfort or not. But of course, we can also use it with another methodology like PMV and other like adaptive methodology as well. And I said that it's indirectly support the SRI because, of course, with more innovative products, directly and indirectly, it's gonna reduce the energy consumption because it's very temperature stable and less more in terms of solar gains in winter wise. And of course, in terms of occupation thermal comfort, we stress the importance that we want to improve their occupancy thermal comfort. So we surpass not just the the carbon neutral of the product, but we want to achieve something that also improve the energy consumption as a whole and also provide more comfort. So all in all, I can say in a closing remark for this project is that we do not directly doing the scoring of the SRI, but of course, this data that we collect, it's a key evidence for smart readiness because it shows how material choice and the envelope design can impact the, of course, the energy performance as well as the occupant comfort, and how efficient smart control, the HVAC system or the centralized can operate to their maximal potential. Thank you.
So I ask you, Konstantinos, now for an insight on this session on the focus number 2.
We can say, based on our current experience, that indeed the SRI is not necessarily the main end goal of innovation, but it is used as a byproduct of calculations and simulations. And we find it very difficult to gather the initial data needed to be gathered in order to calculate the SRI, meaning we find even in big buildings that there is a lack of a standardization regarding the materials, regarding the the whole the whole modeling of the building, even in big buildings, which they were, which they had some kind of modeling due to several designing phases. The information inside the B models were not very usable, so it it would need some manual interaction to cleanse them, to insert them again, and to clarify what material is where.
So a lack.
A lack of
A
initial
lack
data.
of data on the building itself,
Exactly,
which
lack of
you need to
standardization.
calculate the
Exactly.
SRI.
Exactly.
Are there any ideas on how to fill the gap? Meaning, does the SRI results are any of any quality if this and this number are missing, or what are the current ways to overcome a lack of
Based on
data?
this, so we have figured out a way to streamline this process by creating a text-to-beam tool, which I mentioned earlier, that doesn't require for an expert in order to create the beam that is needed to calculate the SRI. And in the middle of the process, we have thought of another tool that could allow the evaluator to see what information is missing from the beam and to manually write it. Or say, I don't care about, for example, if the ventilation is scoring 3 or 4, it is okay to leave it blank. It doesn't interfere a lot in the overall SRI score because I'm looking about flexibility per se.
Okay. How do you tackle this in Smart History, because you're dealing with historical buildings?
The focus of the project and the calls that we answered from European Commission was to focus on historical building, on renovation. Sorry, where was not an option to intervene on the envelope, for example. And we found historical buildings a good example to approach this request from the European Commission. Then, when we started to think about historical buildings, we say, okay, how we can enhance, how we can make them more efficient without not to be invasive too much. And we thought about the starting as a design tool from the SRI. So at that moment, we thought, okay, we could start working with the SRI, calculating the SRI as a basis, and then discuss with the demo site how we can improve from this baseline condition, starting condition, in order to increase the smartness of your building and in parallel to be more efficient and cost effective. And so we calculated using the method A, that is the easiest one, and we calculate in the proposal phase the SRI number, and then together with them, we try to design the intervention in order to improvement of in each domain, of course, the ones that they thought it was possible to work on. And in the end, we find that we reached a new SRI level, still in the proposal phase. But then, during the prosecution of the project, we are in that moment, because we are installing the devices in these weeks, we made, of course, adjustment, because they realized that what we promised, what we wrote in the proposal was not yet achievable, not so achievable. So we added something, or we removed something, because we had to adjust. But we did very manually with physical looking at the buildings to understand what is there, what can be done. So very in the design phase.
Yes, yeah. And regarding the possible lack of information, for example, on the building on the material, which I can imagine was a challenge in historic building. How did you overcome that gap? Or was there any?
Assumption, and they have the building owner has the knowledge. If the knowledge is not present, of course you need to assume.
Yes.
So you have manually inserted the information in order to calculate the SRI, right?
Yes.
Okay,
But of course,
if you wanted to scale this,
exactly.
it would create a major overhead. That's why we try to do it with the BIM models, because if you look at scale, having an assessor go to the building and manually insert every time the information needed in order to complete the SRAs, so it's cost in the first place
And time consuming.
and time
Very
consuming.
No, but imagine that we started the proposal 4 years ago, and then of course many tools are popping up and
Yeah.
very useful from that perspective.
That's the reason we went with the BIM modeling approach.
Because you extract information from the
Exactly.
BIM model
Exactly.
directly for the calculation of the SRI.
And at the same time, we do the simulation and the SRI,
And
the end goal and the byproduct.
And one step also to answer to the previous question, the next step, in my opinion, and we are working with other partners for possible new proposal, is to include a sort of optimizer, an optimization that could optimize the SRI score according also to objectives in terms of energy efficiency or environmental footprint or costs. But this requires an optimization function and requires a lot of improvement of something that at the moment is very manual, and you can do it scenario by scenarios as you are doing in Build-On and also in our tool in Smart History. The next step is avoiding to manually do every scenario, but directly optimizing everything with an optimization function.
Can you give some examples about the outputs in terms if you cannot apply anything on the facade or change the windows as they are historical part of the building? What are the interventions to improve this SRI? What kind of?
We have worked on smart blinds, for example. We are working on lighting, so improving the efficiency of the lighting and also being dimmable. We have installed thermostatic valves, for example, that is not so invasive.
So nothing connected with the, let's say, skeleton of the building, the walls.
Not the skeleton, even if in Riga where they are installing an BIPV, so building integrated photovoltaics on the rooftop, but it's not so impactful, not visible. Electrical vehicles, and what else? And the ventilation domain. We have included some automation for adjusting the airflow according to the occupation.
The same case for Build-On. Smart thermostats, smart meters, and the most extreme was PV, rooftop PV, and the heat pump. That could be time scheduled and so on.
Okay, I think now it's you again, Matteo.
Okay.
With the Smart History or?
Yes, but I've already commented on this because we have three. Just to say that we have 3 demo sites, and in Riga, I was commenting now, and then in Granada, and in the University of Delft. Just to say that we are in. What I was commenting, the driver here was exactly to improve the SRI and try to be, aligned with the constraints that they had and that they have actually.
Okay. Thank you. Then we go to the focus number 3, which is going beyond energy. How does the SRI framework support broader goals like resilience, comfort, and user engagement? We will start with Lukasz, who will tell us about comprehensive approach through incorporation of resilience-based support tools within energy efficiency and indoor environmental quality directly aligns with promoting the SRI, and this along the project multi-care. is yours.
So, just to begin, I was very interested in the topic of SRI as it is, because we do not apply this concept, this methodology in our project. So I was very interested in joining this panel. And in the meantime, when we were preparing this session, the TU Delft prepared a first ever paper on the residence readiness level. And during these presentations today, I have on my mind that the SRI can incorporate also the readiness level as one of the indicators for the calculations, because we were hearing about the thermal comfort, indoor air quality, but there was nothing with regards how the buildings are reacting to the weather conditions and the weather hazards. So I found it very a common thing that both readiness levels could benefit from each other. So as I was speaking, based on the calculations you are making in the very nice tools for the SRI, one of the part of the multi-care which is focusing on the creating the facades as also an answer. Of course, not for the historical buildings as we spoke recently, but for other type of buildings, the plug-and-play facades could be also the answer how to improve the SRI by making these attachments of the facades. In terms of what other aspects within the multi-care can give an input to the improving the SRI, apart from the attaching the facades itself, is that those facades make the buildings benefit from better energy efficiency due to a better thermal conditions in terms of better answer for the heating, for the sun, and as well for the indoor air quality by having those additional facades equipped with very nice ventilation systems. So I was speaking about this resilience readiness level. So this methodology allow building owners to calculate exactly the level of the building readiness for the hazard. So as you can see on this picture, on our not exactly the pilot sites of the multi-care, but some of the other buildings that our project partners get access to, measure the resilience readiness level for the heat, seismic load, and additionally for the wind, which was not initially part of the multi-care. But combining the readiness resilience level into all those hazards, that you Delft managed to make this paper, and I really encourage you to make it. I was checking a couple of days ago in the Google if anyone exactly ever before took this topic, and it's really the first one by the TU Delft, so big congratulations to the TU Delft team, by the way. Additionally to the attachment of the facades, we are developing, of course, multi-hazard tool that also will allow to make any other adjustments in terms of what guys already said before. So not only the outside intervention of the building, but also to do something inside of them. And just to finalize, some few insights from the calculations already made in the pilot site with regards not the SRI level, but how the buildings will benefit by the attachment of the facades being developed in the multiple projects. So we have a quite good numbers in terms of the reduction of the usage of energy and carbon, the improvement of the quality. We assume it will be between 30 and 50%. and as well, which is mainly connected with the multi-care and the response for the hazards and for the event when it happens, mainly in terms of the earthquakes. The annual loss, expected annual loss of the maintenance of the building will decrease from 2.5 to 1.2%. Wrapping up, I really think we will contact with the projects of the SRI for sure, just to talk about how we can integrate the resilience readiness level in your frameworks, if there is any chance of including this in your calculations or in your calculators itself. I mean, in the software, if there is any possibility to put this another indicator into this calculations. It would be great if that would be possibility for this.
It would be make definitely sense to avoid doing renovation energy-wise and then afterwards resilience-wise. Make any sense. Thank you very much, Lukas. Now, Konstantinos, you will give us an insight regarding the Chronicle project and the Chronicle approach, advances building, monitoring, and occupant comfort.
So earlier we saw how starting with a BIM model, we give a unified output to several tools by having a common data environment. Now we will see how these tools translate into user-centric outputs, let's say. So we have standardized the BIM process by including ontologies like the IFC, the bots, and the brick. We are including humans, buildings, and asset modelings. We have developed an EU kernel that is built according to the ISO 52000. We are taking into account the flexibility of the user, the LCC and the LCA, and we bring to the users two different applications. The left video is not playing, so I will tell it to you. The right one is for the occupants, in which they can see their ambience measurements, their energy, their CO2 concentration, and their SRI calculation in the other page. And on the left one, we have a tool for the facility managers in order to have an overview of the building they're managing. In this tool, among other things, they can see several KPIs that correspond to comfort, to user comfort. So to be able to monitor at a daily basis several KPIs and the impact their actions have on the building. In the facility managers tool, some of the KPIs are about comfort, some are about the CO2, the humidity in the house, the energy management of the house, the social awareness, the social structure of the house. Both these applications have the same basis, which is the B model. In the right, you can see an SRI assessment that the user can see. To be honest, many occupants are not very familiar, and seeing their SRI score going from 40 to 45 does not make so much sense to them. They are not taking the SRI to account after a month or two. That's at least the feedback we have. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Now we're going to Matteo. Matteo will show us how the Smart Story approach advances building, monitoring, and occupant comfort.
Yes, this. This is not strictly related to the SRI calculation, but it is something aside that we are developing and we have developed in Smart Story, thanks to the activities from TU Delta and the TU Delta group that was following this task. And here is a nice picture of how the end users are interacting with the environment that they are living or working. And as you can see, there are several ways how we can interact to have comfort from the place that we are living for a big part of our days. And this to show and to transmit the fact that automation and a human perspective, when you talk about controlling and automation in terms of comfort, of course, is important as always to be taken into account. So how to take into account when you push automation to some limits, how to take into account people and people perspective. And this has been done, and they are still doing this activity by TU Delta Smart History project. They conducted also some research and they provided some questionnaires to the users from specifically Delta and Riga, and they found that the majority of the users that they contacted are very interested in automation, and this means that they are very interested in this type of new possibility, that the buildings that they work in can gain in terms of efficiency and smartness, but then they would like also to have access to the control. So for most of them, the control should not come automatically without their intervention or without taking them into account in terms of preferences. And this is, and this is my final slide, this came to the definition of the concept of user archetypes, because of course, when we are designing an advanced control logics, we cannot take into account every single person and all the preferences that, for example, all of us that we are here in this moment has in terms of comfort, because maybe I'm feeling warm or hot in this moment because I'm speaking in front of many people, but maybe someone else is, I don't know, feel colder or whatever. And so this is the reason why we introduced it in Smart History, and TU Delft introduced it in Smart History, this concept of user archetypes, that is a sort of categorization of typologies of people that can be included also in the control algorithms that we are developing, in this case, us from RINA Consulting. So in the optimization algorithms, we have also this aspect that for us is a constraint that define the domains where our algorithms find the optimization, the optimal control point to then act directly on the ventilation and on the heating system or on the luminance via the smart lines. And these are some results that are comparing in summer and winter the dynamic response that comes from the utilization of their algorithms related to the archetypes and the unified response. And we can find that they found actually that is an increment of the thermal comfort, but this is not aligned, for example, for the energy consumption. And this is something that it is important to understand. So this means that when you are very focused on on the user perspective, then the users are very focused on their thermal comfort before to the energy aspect, so to the energy consumption and to cost relevance. And this means that if we want to increase their thermal comfort, sometimes we need to consume more. And again, it's a sort of trade-off, it's a sort of balance that with our controls in smart history, we would like to solve and to try to have this optimum, this threshold between these two, how to say, competing aspects of this ecosystem. There is much more thing to say, but the time is close. It's finished.
I could continue.
No, please.
Thank you, Matteo. Then I would like to ask Giannis for giving his insight on this section, please.
I think that these presentations were very good and informative. They brought new aspects to the SRI, like the resilience and user adaptability. But I think that if we try to integrate all this into a standardized SRI framework, this is something very difficult. And in any case, which are the way to move forward in order to integrate them into national or EU SRI frameworks? This is something that we need to consider, and perhaps we need to expand our test sites, collect the results, share them somewhere centrally,
Yes.
and then try to persuade the people for policy updates.
This is about standardization. This is about learning from all the different SRIs that are being developed and tested. Yeah, I may give some insights. When I started 20 years ago working on these very first, at that time called Smart City projects from the European Commission, they were focused especially on energy issues. It was not on digitalization, as you may think by this name Smart Cities. It was really positive energy districts, not yet having the mobility part. And we were asked to work on a monitoring database. So every single project developed its own monitoring database. So at some point, and we were all discussing and struggling about, hey guys, you're not having this one, you're not having that KPI, we are having this KPI. Where are we going in Europe? What is wrong? And then the Commission had set up a tender asking, that tender at that time was called Concerto, and followed by many other more. One of them we were happy to lead, so that's why I know about it. So we were then asked, and made sense, to develop one single monitoring database that was completed and filled with all the data from all the projects. So we collected from all the former projects and the running projects all the monitoring data to then perform one monitoring database. So me as Valerie, I can say, yes, you're completely right, to learn from all these learnings and hopefully reach out to one useful tool. We will never have only one, but at least learning from all the monitoring, or not monitoring, all these SRA data. And it was also very interesting to listening to all the different projects, because they were in somehow each of them different. One of them, some focusing on historical buildings, other on circular aspects with the materials, then on resilience. So these are very different aspects, and then pointing out again the human point of view. Yeah, what is that aspect? So we already see that the SRIs that have been applied in each of the different projects may differ at this point. All of them tackle very important aspects. We are not yet. We haven't arrived at the end point. So we need to speed up somehow. But as in every single approach, standardization seems to be an important challenge. Nevertheless, there are in these single projects some challenges that are particular to your own projects. So I would like to ask, for example, you, Lukas, what is the fastest path from lab pilots to mass retrofit and or production, which goes a little bit along this?
Yeah, beforehand, I can give one comment.
Yes, you may.
With regards what you said about making a compilation from different projects, this should be the number one goal of the commission after each call, to not put all the results to the shelf or close it, but to gather all the results from the project and make, to say, one working software or one working system or methodology.
Yes.
That we learn from all projects, to not abandon the results to never going to really exist on the market.
Yes.
So that's the comment. In terms of the question, which is also I think connected with a bit of things related to the policies and standards, that if you want to allow the products that we are developing in the projects, like in our case, going from the laboratories, we are going to demo sites, we're going to attach the facades, but what next in terms of replicability, scalability for other buildings? This requires, for sure, a bit more, at the end, top to bottom approach. Without, let's say, the Commission or other governmental institutions providing the document, let's say, or a standard, this will not help. If we, for example, have a joint venture that we want to sell the product without a standard or without a certificate that some institution or commission will give us, it's very hard to go to the mass production. Even if the product is good, provides better energy efficiency performance, without those, as we know, the bureaucracy is very high at this moment, and there is a need for such green light from the governments to allow these kind of results being in the mass production. I can say that's my perspective.
Okay. The next question goes first to Keo Batana and then to Janice. What regulatory or market challenges hinder the adoption of innovative materials and smart technologies? And how can SRI assessments better recognize their impact on building performance?
Yeah, I think from inbuilt experience, one of the main challenge is the regulatory frameworks and certification process for innovative products. It could take us longer time and more costly approval procedures than the conventional products, of course. And another barrier, another challenge for us is the fragmented recognition from the SRI policy, because as we all know that the SRI very stressed on the digital smart controlling on the building, and we're not very visible in terms of the material intelligence. And we know that from many studies, as well as in build, we have shown that using innovative products can really reduce the energy consumption, improving the thermal comfort, but it's not really the indicator in the SRI yet. Maybe we could work on sometimes. And I remember having a very interesting exchange, I think it was with you, that we talked about, of course, when we transform a building, for example, that consuming 100% of the energy right now, to if we want to reduce it to 40, it's doable. But if we could do our best to already, even before the SRI, even before the smart control, reduce the 100% into like 80, and then we transform from the 80 to 40, it's much easier in that case. So I think in that place, I think inbuilt plays a role, and everybody here plays a role in reducing everything before the SRI, and we could improve on it in the future, hopefully. Yeah.
One barrier I can think is, as Konstantinos mentioned, that there is a lack of standardized characterization of the smart technologies in the national building frameworks. For example, we have advanced sensors or thermostats that are not properly mapped in official frameworks. Another issue is that the market is fragmented. We all know that technology evolves faster than the regulatory updates, so it is very hard to catch up. And assessors are in a very difficult position to identify the impact of the various technologies on the SRI schemes. And another one that we had also the chance to talk before is the building occupants or the owners cannot understand the real benefit of the increase in the smart readiness of their building and see all these interventions as just extra costs and not something vital for them. So we build on NSRI and ACT. We try to bridge this gap and connect the SRI assessment with the market equipment and the financial costs to help financial investments decisions and with various analytics and estimate carbon emissions to show the real impact to the building owners.
Because at the end, what I hear here and there and read, it's at the end it comes down to, can I finance it? Yeah. For many, it makes sense intellectually and ethically, but at the end, yeah, can I pay it? Yeah.
This is, I think, one of the main outcomes of the current Sustainable Places Conference, that we are still going back to this citizen engagement part and willingness for the interventions. Each workshops we attend, we're going still back. The technology is super efficient, great, innovative things, but when we are entering the building and facing the occupants, then is the challenge how to engage them to participate in these renovations, how to explain them the benefits in the 10 years perspective. They are just thinking about next year, maybe 2 years ahead, but not what they can benefit in 10 years.
This may sound now coming from an old lady. Since 20 years, it has never changed. It was always this last question. So we have to step forward somehow. Yeah. Nevertheless, Konstantinos, a last question to you. What were the biggest technical and operational challenges you encountered during the implementation of smart upgrades in your building, and how did you overcome them?
Regarding the greatest challenge was, as I said before, to gather the necessary data to calculate the SRI. Regarding the upgrades was to convince the users to accept the interventions. We saw earlier some pictures of umbrellas in desks and pens in switches. We have found sensors inside fridges, inside ovens. So the IoT devices needs to be better explained and integrated seamlessly within the occupants' living spaces, in order not to be something strange to them, but a device inside their house, like it is their television, their sofa, etc., etc.
Looking at the watch, I assume that I would like to close the session right now. I think we heard a lot of insights and experiences out of the 6 projects, and telling us that we have stepped forward quite big steps right now, but there's a long way to go. But we need to speed up. Yeah, and there are many aspects we need to bring together, not to think in silos, because the challenges we face are no silos, they are complex. And nevertheless, even although there are challenges, I would like to say be positive and step forward, because anyway, we need to step forward. And so I would like to thank, first of all, our speakers. Thanks to all of them.
Thank you for coordination.
You're welcome. I would like to thank to the audience. I would thank to the audience in person and the one online. And I would like to thank my colleague over here and in Stuttgart for preparing everything. So, and I wish you good discussions, and I hope that you had got some good inputs from our side. I wish a good continuation, and thank you to everybody.
Thank you.